Greetings to you manners, minds, and crimes, and welcome back to another Warframe What If rework. So, yeah, I decided to do another one of these after the Revenant video, and now we're going to be taking a look at Nyx, because Nyx is in more need of help than Revenant is, and that's quite a lot. It's saying a lot, to be honest. Anyway, remember, this is a What If rework. These are my opinions. And you might have your own sort of ideas how you think the frame should be reworked or not reworked. But I think we can all agree that Nyx isn't what she should be. Not saying she's bad, because there's really no such thing as a bad frame in the game. It's just, she isn't what she should be. Anyway, I think this rework will suffice, this what if rework. So, for her passive, I didn't change anything because I can't really think of anything that would really fit Nyx. Her passive now is just enemies are 20% less accurate. It's there, you know. That's all it is. It's just there. So, as always, well, the first one I did with this, I wrote it down, and I've actually written this one down too. Anyway, so her first ability that I completely changed. So her first now is tap to lift up to 3 enemies off the ground and hurl them at great speeds. So basically think of like what Grendel can do with his 3, where you suck enemies in and you spit them out at really high speeds, kind of like that. Tap and hold to pin all enemies in a base cone range of 12 meters to the ground. So basically you force them onto the ground through psychic powers, and they stay there for a set duration. So you basically just force them to submit, and I think that'd be, you know, obviously pretty amazing crowd control, because the enemies literally couldn't do anything, and they would obviously be vulnerable to ground finishers. So, you know, just absolute, you know, enemy fuckery. So that's great. Alright, so her second ability is much more offensive, and this is a concept I've always wanted to see in this game. Rip pieces off of the environment and launch them at high speeds as projectiles that slash and ignore 50% of an enemy's resistances. So what that means is that it does slash damage, but it ignores 50% of the enemy's armor, and will also ignore Corpus Shield, so it would directly slash their health. So yeah, you would basically rip stuff off the ground. Imagine like pieces of metal or rocks or whatever else happens to be there. It's usually metal or rocks, let's be real. And it's thrown like a shotgun, and everything it hits is slashed to hell, and it ignores armor. At least 50% of it. I think that'd suffice, because that's pretty devastating. Slash is already really devastating, but then you add ignoring defenses. Yeah, it's gonna do I would imagine it doing quite a lot of damage. Anyway, now we move on to her 3. I gave her survivability. Thank fuck, right? Creates a barrier that protects Nyx by deflecting all damage by 90%. So basically think of it like Zephyr with her 3, where it's like a field around her that, you know, just deflects weapon damage, all of that. And also with Nyx, I would have it deflect toxin and other status effects like that, or at least really, really dampen them. So basically Nyx would not be able to be touched 90% of the time. So it'd be 90% damage reduction, more like damage avoidance, but you get what I mean. It'd be like Zephyr, and Zephyr's obviously a very survivable frame. There's no arguing there. At least I hope there's no arguing there that Zephyr is tanky. Anyway, now we move on to her 4th. So her 4th ability, well, she basically turns into Magneto, and you'll see why. Hovers above the ground, first off, badass. All abilities are supercharged. Causes nearby enemies to attack all at random and confusion. So it's chaos. So basically her 3rd ability, chaos, in her 4. On a time limit based 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds with this mode. Second ability can be charged and set off slashing explosions. So instead of just, with the 4 active, instead of just lifting crap off the ground and like, pieces of metal and weapons and everything else and throwing it, you actually make large explosions that slash enemies to hell. So again, when I said supercharged, I'm not kidding. And it's not just her, turn the page, and it's not just her too. So now her first ability removes all armor, all shields, charged to force enemies into a compact sphere that explodes with heat damage. So that's what her 1 would be doing. So you can remove all enemy armor and then put them all into a ball and then explode them twice, because you can hit them with the enhanced explosions from her 2 and her 1. So this is a Nyx I want. I want a frame like this, a telekinetic master. That's what Nyx should be. Shouldn't be someone that sort of messes with the mind. No, that's boring. This is what she should be. Anyway, of course I don't have names for these abilities. Maybe eventually I will start naming them. But doesn't this sound a lot more appealing? A lot more fun? It sounds a hell of a lot of fun. Now, can you use weapons with her 4? I don't think you'd be able to, because she'd be focused on, staying in the air. But you wouldn't need that when you have her 2 and her 1 that could do enormous amounts of damage. And obviously you could be able to cancel it anytime you want. Maybe there would be an augment where you can set up these explosions like landmines to protect like a certain area or an objective or something. That could be a little augment, or it could just be built into the kit where it's like a landmine, or you can self-detonate it whenever you want. So overall, this version of Nyx, this what if version of Nyx, would satiate my appetite for a telekinetic, like, I'm trying to think, kind of Magneto, what he's able to do, kind of, except he's a little different in the comics. I'm 90% sure he's different in the comics. Jean Grey, all these telepaths, all these people that have telekinesis, not just telepathy, but also true telekinetic powers. She would be able to manipulate the battlefield and turn it into a weapon and really mess with the enemies, and it would just be so much more fun than what she is right now. Which, let's be real, all Nyx really does, yeah, her psychic bolts, removes armor. Cool. It completely removes armor from basically everything. Okay. That's cool in Plague Star, but meh everywhere else. And her mind control minion, it can do damage. It really can. You take over an Xmas unit and the fuckers can take a beating and do lots of damage, but the AI is awful. So, remove all of that about her and rework her like I said in this video, this what if rework. And Nyx would be much more fun to play, she'd be way more functional, and she'd be, most importantly, very versatile. Because Nyx right now, she's a fine frame. She works. It's just, her use is so niche that I don't really see myself playing her that much. That's a little unfortunate because, going back to the rework that I said, this is how Nyx should be. I don't know why this isn't already a frame. This sounds something right up the alley that, Digital Extremes would do. And I want this frame that I wrote here on the notepad on paper, the rework that I had for Nyx, I want that to be Nyx. I don't want a new frame to be exactly what I've said. I wouldn't mind that. I'd play that frame like hell. But Nyx should be what I've said here. This telekinetic, manipulator. This frame that, literally takes the environment and actually makes it into a formidable weapon, and also sort of fucks with the minds of the enemies. But I don't know. I don't know when we'll ever get a Nyx rework. I freaking hope she gets a full-blown rework. If not something like what I've said on the paper, then something a little bit similar. Don't just make her a frame that sort of messes with enemies' minds. I mean, they don't have much mind to begin with. There's not much up there. There's just a single freaking ball bearing moving all over the place in their skull. Enemies are so stupid in this game. This isn't like Payday 2 where the enemies actually are somewhat intelligent, where you can actually fuck with them and all of that. The mind games actually work very well in Payday 2. Anyway, she should be able to, like just what I said in this, lift enemies into the air, throw them around, lift panels and other crap off the ground and huck them, and then explosions because of her mind powers. She shouldn't be using her mind to fuck with others. She'd be using her mind to manipulate, to devastate. That's what she should be. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting, and I want to hear your thoughts on this rework. A lot of you guys actually seem to actually really like it when I did my own rework of Revenant. Revenant was pretty complicated. This one's fairly simple. I have other frames that I'm going to be doing where I give them my own sort of rework, my own what-if rework. The next one might actually be Volt, but I have to really think about stuff for him. Anyway, with all that being said, if Nyx gets this type of rework, if she gets this kind of treatment by Pablo or whoever else that can actually make a competent rework, Pablo, she would be one of the most fun and versatile frames in the game. I would love that so much. She would be actually a telekinetic god that she should be. But right now she's a little lame. Anyway, all that being said, again, let me know what you think of this. And thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, in Trilby, we trust.